is Bryce, and I'm your host for The Inbound Secret, where we're talking with top performers and health experts and sales badasses alike about their strategies to optimize their well-being and performance. Once again, this is The Inbound Secret, and let's get rocking and rolling.
This is The Inbound. This is The Inbound. This is The Inbound. The Inbound. This is The Inbound Secret.
We are recording. What is going on, everybody? This is Bryce with The Inbound Secret and Cereal Bowl. I've got a special guest for you guys today. His name is Adil Amarsi, and we are talking about thoughts to profits and how to become virtually limitless, following a methodology and really following your heart to leave an impact. Adil, do you mind just giving an introduction to everybody?
Hey everybody, thank you for having me on, Bryce. I appreciate it. For those that don't know who I am, I have been a senior high-level copywriter for well over a decade, been doing this for 13 years. Professionally, it's more closer to 19 years. In the last 13, we've done over 700 million in sales for my clients. And yeah, I just like working in different markets and having fun. So that's basically me. Oh, and a fellow podcaster. That's how we met.
That is how we met. And thank you for being on the show today. We're kind of revamping everything, so it's exciting. You are our first new guest.
Win.
That's what I'm saying. I'm thinking stickers, a gold star somewhere. That's what I'm thinking.
Always. I want my ClickFunnels version plaque of this. Thoughts to profit like plaque, first one there.
The Inbound Secret branded. It would be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Of course, has to be. It'll just go right there. Right
I was like, you've got bookshelf room. I could see it. Or right on the wall in between the bookshelf and the microphone.
Oh, I was thinking the wall because like the microphone's just here. So if I move it out of the way, you have like this entire wall that's going to be up. So
perfect. Yours moves. Mine's static.
Yeah, I got a pop filter for mine, so it's like one that just moves around you can play with. And also because I'm a child and I have two cats, and they will destroy things, I've learned to put things together and leave them there.
Yeah, I'm using the AKG AM pop filter. Nice. But mine aren't movable because I have one cat who thinks he's two cats. So he attacks everything.
It's like that shadow is another cat attack it. It's like, no, it's just you.
Yep. So you'll notice that I keep this room pretty silent. I've got audio foam around. I've got a bunch of video equipment behind me. Well, Tuxedo, the cat who thinks he's two, bless his heart, he's an awesome cat. He was a rescue. I got him at 6 months. He decides that anything that dangles is a toy. So he's knocked all of this down.
I can't talk shit because I was wondering where my big cat is, Chase, the loud one that sounds like a baby. I actually didn't realize where he was. I was like, oh, I wonder where he is. He sat next to me in the office chair next to me, just like underneath hidden. He's like, I'm chilling out. You're doing a podcast. I'll be quiet today. Because usually on Thursdays, if I'm doing a show, as you found out when we were doing ours, he just starts meowing like a lot, like incessantly.
That's Tuxedo. If I open that door for half a second, you're going to hear meow, meow, meow.
So wait, you can lock yours out of rooms? Mine has figured out how to open doors. I can't lock it.
So luckily I have round doorknobs, and Tuxedo has not figured out how to move a round doorknob. The little lever ones though, like he'll just pull down.
Yeah, see, I've got one of those right now. So I think what I'm going to do is just like my friend's dad told me, like unscrew them and turn them 90 degrees so the handle is upward. They'll never be able to do anything. I was like, that just sounds really mean and frustrating, but also really genius.
Borderline. It's evil genius. That's what it is.
Yeah. If you're a cat person, you know this shit. You walk a very fine line of evil genius.
Yep. This is true. So we took a weird tangent, but I kind of love it. So we're going to go back in time a little bit. Pre-kitties or pre-this kitty.
Yes.
13, 19 years ago. You said you've been doing this for almost 2 decades. I've seen a lot of your work. It's fire. So tell people how you got into this place. How did you go from the Adil Amarsi 20 years ago to senior copywriter that's generated almost $1 billion in sales for his clients.
Yeah. And by the way, that number is not far off. It's just I can legally only say it's 700 million at the moment because the 300 million kind of like contracts that never got paid out. So I'm like, oh shit, I can't really find out. But I do know what they made, so it's fine. Anyway, so going back to it, it's a little bit weird because I've got to go back further than 20 years. I've got to go back all the way to the time I was 5 years old in the 90s. That long distant time away when things were kind of slightly cooler. And
the good old days.
And the chocolate didn't cost so much goddamn money.
Right.
Yeah,
when did chocolate get so expensive?
I think it's literally I remember the 2000s. That's like, we always accounted, and we have these little chocolate bars. They're like chocolate frogs called Freddos or Fredos. And they were like 20 cents. And we always figured that if they go up in price, there's inflation happening. And that's how you track the inflation. Like at one point it was like a whole pound, which is essentially like $1.50 for like a 20-cent chocolate. And you're like, okay, inflation's gone crazy. We need to like bring this back down. But anyway, I digress. So around back then in the 90s, I have an older sister. She's 7 years older than me, 6-7 years older than me. And anyone that grew up in the 90s knew there were 2 shows on terrestrial cable that you absolutely had to watch. There was like 2 channels. There was either Cartoon Network for the kids or Nickelodeon for the kids that were teenagers or preteens. And that was the fight in the house. You got 5-year-old me versus 12-year-old my sister. That shit ain't going to go down. Plus, my dad's paralyzed from the waist down for those 2 years. From like 5 till 7, my dad is paralyzed because of a herniated disc. And this plays into a reason. So any psychologist worth their salt knows for a fact that your brain isn't really your brain until you're 7 years old. Like, it's an unconscious matter. The last 2 years really form your consciousness. My dad, I developed a small plan on how I could watch cartoons because I loved cartoons. I was like, right, watch whatever dad watches for as long as he watches it. And then the moment he moves, change the channel. And then no one can beat me up because I've been here this entire time. And if my sister does beat me up, my dad could be like, yo, he was here before you. What are you doing? So there was a little bit of like, oh, okay, cool, gotta plan this shit out. That's fine. But my dad used to love a show. He used to love the news for some weird reason. He loved a trivia show called 15 to 1. He loved another UK show called Countdown, which is still on air right now. It's basically a words and numbers game. So it's mathematical and anagrams of words and putting shit together. It's very, very taxing on the brain, which is nice. And you have like a minute, by the way. You have like 30 seconds to come up with a 9-letter word at the very max. You have 9 random letters. You got to come up with a word with it. And it's got to be like more than 4 letters. But you got 30 seconds to think on your feet for the highest combo. So it's a lot of fun. And then finally, my dad liked watching Billy Mays and the QVC Home Shopping Channel for 2 hours a day.
But wait, there's more.
Yeah, that was it. Like literally, I was watching one of the greatest pitchmen of all time for 2 years of my life, where my brain was being developed into what it would be. And again, you know, there's some, and this took me years later that I found this out. When I was like 8 years old, there's a memory I had at 8 years old with my mom. My cousins were at my place at this point, and I used to do this thing every time they were over or someone was watching a TV show I didn't really like and I wanted to play on my PlayStation. I'd wait for my mom to get on the phone, and then as soon as she was on the phone to my aunt, I'd go annoy the shit out of her until she gave me what I wanted. And then one day my mom caught on and called me a little manipulator. She's like, "You're such a little manipulator." I was 8. I took that as a compliment. I was like, "Yes, I am." Just walked off with like pride. Fast forward to me at 12 years old. Like, something you got to realize, at school, I wasn't the quickest person to write. I had very slow handwriting, to the point that my teachers used to like, when they pulled me in for the parent teacher evening before I went to what is middle school for you guys or secondary school for us. My teacher said, your son is very, very smart, but he is a perfectionist and he writes very slowly. And to give you guys an idea on the level of my perfectionism, I can get to the bottom of a page that I've been copying from a textbook. I can put the period point or the full stop in the wrong spot that I don't think it should be, like it's floating or it's underneath that center line, it's not aligned properly. I'll rip the page out. I literally rip the page out and start again. Like, top of the page, start all over again.
So I've got to ask, have you ever thought about using a pencil?
I did. It's like, I used to erase and I just get really mad at it. It was like, it looks horrible. Do it again. It has to look neat. I was so perfectionist about it. That's the reason I have pencils everywhere. And also I use an iPad more than anything now because it's just easier to erase. Like, but fast forward. So like, my parents told this, and my dad, again, being able to walk, he is asked, hey, could you spend some time with your kid, make sure that he gets quick in writing? My dad's like, yeah, you got to get quicker at writing, which you can get crucified at secondary school. It's like, fine. It's like every day after work, after school, I want you to do is I want you to come down to my office and I want you to just write stories. And at the time, he worked both as a cab driver, so he drove taxis, and he also had a little small import-export business. And I just would write stories every day. Around a year later after this incident, when I'm 13 years old, my parents get separated. Like, they separate out. I end up going with my mom and my sister, and my school commute goes from 30 to 40 minutes total time, 20 minutes each way, to 2 hours on a bus. So I've got to catch 2 buses every day, an hour each way. And I am a lonely, quiet, shy kid who is hunched over and doesn't want to be seen. Because at this, I was like 13 years old. I was like 5'6" at 13, because I'm like 6 foot tall now. But like I was 5'6" at the time, and I was taller than most people in my school. So I was like trying to fit in, not stand out. I lost a lot of weight, which was nice. But when I went back to school, I fell into the love of hip hop. Like, I already had a huge love for hip hop and R&B, but I started like making beats. I started creating. I started battle rapping back at that point, because battle rapping back then was very similar to like the way that Eminem, Immortal Technique, and all those guys came up, because it was that era of time. You didn't have time. You'd be on the schoolyard, someone would make fun of you, you got to go back at them. It was very straight off, off the cuff. You got to riff. And that kind of like honed me a little bit. And then I felt like I'm an artist, like I do draw, but I fell out of loving to draw. So I went from drawing to poetry to hip hop to instruments, and then instruments to stand-up comedy and voice work. So I actually became a voice actor at a very young age as well. So I went through all this metamorphosis of stuff. 18 years old, I find myself working at a retail place that I really enjoy, like a GameStop. And I like, my whole goal at that point was I wanted to be a martial artist. I wanted to fight professionally. I was like, I want to pursue this fighting career. That's what I'm made for. I'm not made for that. I actually do I love fighting. Like, I genuinely love combat sports. Like, you can talk to me until the cows come home about combat sports. But at this point, it was just crazy. So I'm trying to find a way to fund my combat sports dream. I'm like, I don't want to be broke, work a job, and then have to go train. I want to have a business so I can go train full time. My instructor at the time figures this out. He's in MLM. He brings me into MLM. We have a fallout after 6 or 8 months because I grew my team a little bit quicker, or some bullshit that was there. I have no idea. It was something to do with leadership, and he wasn't happy that I was progressing or some stuff. I was like, fair enough. He wasn't getting paid off my commissions anyway. Anyway, long story short is he and I break, and I let go of the traditional MLM stuff, which is call your friends, call your family, get people involved. And I go online. I'm like, there has to be a way to do this online. So I go online, find a bunch of people that are doing it successfully online. That's how I start my online career. I go to a seminar because I had 10 people read my blog post, and I'll explain why in a moment. I had 10 people read my blog post from an MLM that I was in. I went to a seminar about traffic, became friends with all the speakers, applied some of the stuff, got some traction, and then the company folded because they got scammed and they had to be sold to World Ventures. It's like, fair enough. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to pay monthly fees. I can go build my own business to be an affiliate marketer. Head down the affiliate marketing route, doing my thing. I'm like, I'm still sucking at traffic. I made like $45 total. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Fine, fair enough. Excuse my language. And then I end up going to another seminar, but this time I'm crewing. I'm part of the crew of the same seminar company that I went to before. My job as a 18/19-year-old kid is you have to go ahead and you have to go do all the what's called green room duties. So you have to look after all the speakers, you have to get all the food, you have to make sure everyone's taken care of. I'm like, I love it. Cool. It's a good spot for me because I thought I couldn't sell for shit at this point. So I'm in the room talking to them, become very good friends with them, and they're like, what are you good at? So I'm terrible at everything. Like, no, seriously. They was like, what's a result you've gotten that you'd be proud of? I was like, well, I don't know if I'm proud of this because it's not great. I wish I had more people. It would be more impressed if I had more people there. They're like, okay, what do you mean? I was like, well, I wrote a blog post about this network marketing company I was in until I deleted it because I left the network marketing company. I was like, it's no point sending people here. And they're like, oh yeah, what happened? I was like, I had 10 visitors and 7 of them gave me money. I wish it was more visitors so more can give me money. I know those are terrible numbers. And they just looked at me like I was the dumbest human ever and went, 70% is not a bad number. What's wrong with you? Like, there's a room full of people who pay you like 10 grand for half that.
Right away, 70% done.
Right. So like I do that. And while I'm at the seminar, I am convinced that I cannot sell for shit. I'm told that I'm not a good salesman. So I'm like, I'm not a good salesman. Who's going to buy from me? So I decided to get some advice from someone that like, go join a commission only door-to-door sales company. At the same time as this guy Halbert, he was like, Halbert was like, if you've sold in any form, you can write copy. I was like, great, I'll go improve my skills in field. Cue 6 months of like really hard, long hours, doing okay here and there, but losing quite a lot of time. In that time period, and this is quite important, in that time period, I decide to hang my shingle and like, okay, I'm a copywriter. This is what I am. This is what I do. I come back home from said seminar. The whole door-to-door thing is like 3 days later. But as soon as I come home, my dad goes, "How was your seminar?" It's one of the few times my dad and I like really got on when I was younger, because my parents had got back together at this point as well. They got back together a couple of years prior. My dad sold the company that he had. And he goes, "Wait here." I was like, "I'm going to be a copywriter." Like, great. He goes, "Wait here. I'm going to go upstairs." Goes into the attic, brings out this big, massive black file and goes, "Read the first 3 ads." So I read the first 3 ads. By the third ad, I'm like, this looks familiar. I don't know why it looks familiar. It just looks familiar. He goes, "Yeah, you wrote them." I was like, "What?" He goes, "Remember all those stories you used to submit to us when you were younger, when you used to come into the office?" I was like, "Yeah." Because we used to take them. We used to like get our copywriters to write a good headline, clean up your bad grammar at times, and then basically just make sense of what you need to do and throw a call to action. And we mailed it out. That's how we basically got all our advertising was from you. I was like, fuck, that's awesome.
That's pretty cool.
I was like, "Do I get any commissions?" And he was like, "Do you want an ass whooping?" I was like, "I'll take no commissions. That's fine." And then around the same time, what really kind of kicked off was I got my first client by going to an event while doing door-to-door sales. I met them knocking doors. They invited me to an event. I went on a Sunday. They're like, "Look, I like you. My real estate company is looking to actually put out a training. How about you do this? If you can write the copy for us, we'll give you," I think it was like £3,500, like $5,000, which was a lot of money to me back then, plus 3% on the back end of the first week. Like, you will not be able to make anything else after the first week. It's that first week and the $3,500. I was like, great, or 5,000 US. Anyway, I do this while I'm pulling a full 14-hour door-to-door sales shift. Like, I'm in the field for 12 hours. I've got like work stuff to do in between. And after that, after work, I get home and I start writing copy, and I don't finish till like 2, 3 in the morning. Go to bed, wake up. I'm at work again at 7 or I'm up at 7 or 8 a.m. I'm at work at 9, and I start my job at 10. And I do this every day for about 6 to 8 months, like 6 months for this. But I wrote the ad, and my birthday had passed around this time, so I turned 19. So I turned 20. No, I was 19. So around this time, I'm there. And they run the ad. Now I'm in the field, I'm knocking doors, they send it over to my client, whatever. I get a phone call from the bank because I had a little bit of debt that because I was stupid. Bank goes, "Hey, where's our money?" I was like, "I'm in the field doing knocking doors. I'll get your money. Don't worry about it. I got that." Go to the field, knock on the door. Great, cool. Get a phone call from, get a text message from my client, like get another phone call from the bank. I'm like, "What the fuck did this guy want?" Like, "Hi, yeah, what's going on, Mr. Rossi?" "Yeah, great, cool." I was like, "Hey, I'm just working right now." I was like, "Do you have a couple of minutes? We just need to go through verification for something about a deposit." I was like, "Okay." And they're like, "Please hold while we check some details and get what you need." They're on hold. My phone starts buzzing. I get a text message. I look at it, and it's my client. He's like, "Hey, just a quick heads up. The company name is," I'm not going to mention the company name because it's NDA'd, but they're like, "You're going to get paid from this company. And has your bank called you?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm just on the phone with them right now. I don't know if it's credit card department or whatever." He was like, No, it's us. Just give me a call back after you're done with the phone call." Fair enough. On the phone with the person, because we're texting each other. They come back, say, "Hey, what's up?" Like, whatever. They're like, "Could you confirm the company name that you've worked with in the past? Does this company name sound familiar?" I was like, "Yeah." "Why?" They're like, "Okay, we just need to verify that these details are all correct." Gave them all the stuff they needed. And I was like, "Why?" They're like, "Well, we just deposited £80,000, the equivalent of $150,000 in your bank account, because the first week of sales they did was £3.5 million off a letter I wrote for them." And that's how I started my career. And since then, I've gone, like, you hear copywriters that have like, you know what? If you ever hear of a copywriter with like a 99% success rate, it's a myth. They're not that good. Dude, I have a 99.2% success rate. I've written over 13,500 campaigns. I've only lost 300 of them. I'm pissed I've lost 300 of them, but 300 out of 13,500, I'll take those odds. Those are good odds.
Those are good odds. That's for sure.
Yeah. So that's basically my story where I'm at.
So first off, wow. But second off, there was one kind of element in there that I really want to touch on, because it really transfers to everybody watching this. It's about bringing your thoughts and making them profit you, right?
Yep.
How to build that legacy, how to leave that life. It started before you were ever in an age group to really do this. Your father took your childhood stories that he used to teach you, and his first thought was, these are pretty good. We're going to turn them into a marketing campaign and just rebrand them.
Kind of. He more like the stories were about his products anyway. Like I used to go to his office and I used to write about what I saw. So that was, he just ran with that though. He ran with that stuff for like 4 years.
Here's why I want to touch on that. How many times have you been in a situation where like you just ignore what's around you because you've got your headspace is this direction, but there's 45 opportunities right here that you're just not seeing. You're just tunnel vision.
It happens far more often.
And then what ends up happening is you get to that goal, or you get to a point where that goal's no longer feasible because you're on a different path in life. And you just take a second and breathe. You just go, and you look over and you're like, son of a bitch. It was there this whole time.
Yep.
Your father had the foresight to not have to go through that trial and tribulations. He was like, all right, let's do this, which ended up shaping you into a copywriter who can take his literal thoughts and turn them into a 99% success rate and over $700 million in profits.
Yep. Well, to be fair, I'll say this much. My dad, for the longest time, did not want me to be a copywriter. In fact, he wanted me to be a barber. My dad was like, go learn like a trade craft. It will last you forever. In my head, I was like, okay. And this is going to sound a little bit crazy because this is where the conspiracy theorist of me kind of plays in. And there is a little conspiracy theorist in every copywriter. I'm pretty much sure of it.
Anybody in marketing.
Pretty much. We all have like a little skeptical. It's like, we know what we do. So when we hear it, we're like, how true is this?
We sure about that?
Did that really happen the way they say?
Yeah.
But the conspiracy that I had was like, the world's gonna, like, I think I was like 18 or something. Well, actually, I was younger than 18 because I remember I always wanted to be really good at selling. But specifically at 18, I was like, well, the world's gonna go to hell in a handbasket and technology might get wiped out. I need a profession that I can hone my craft in that will work in the offline world, in the online world, and will work forever. I was like, what's a job you'll never run out of? Selling. People need to sell shit all the time. Just get good at selling. And that was it. That was basically the big decision for me. It was like, keep at this until you get it to the point.
I love how you had like a thought process that got you there. Because in my own story, taking thoughts to profits, mine was, I call myself a prolific mistake maker, right?
Best way to be.
Historically speaking, I basically just fell down flights of stairs, metaphorically speaking, until eventually, and physically, until eventually, like something clicked and I'm like, well, this isn't who I am. I've done everything out here. And then like it took my life crumbling for like the fourth time. And keep in mind, I'm only 28. Okay. So
I'm older than you? God damn.
For whatever reason, my childhood brain was like, yep, let's make life as hard as possible. So went down that road. And then after like the fourth time of my life just crumbling and me being subterranean at this point, not just ground bottom, just subterranean.
Oh yeah, it's when they say that when you hit rock bottom, it's like, bitch, you don't know what rock bottom is. I'm on the other side of the rock bottom.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, here's rock bottom, here's the subway, here's where I was.
Exactly.
And so after figuring that out, like it was a big transformational time for me. And it's the reason I started seeing a psychiatrist. It's the reason why I started focusing on health. It's the reason why I started investing in networking groups and masterminds and coaches and consultants. It's why I spent so much time and money and energy going back and really perfecting something that I didn't even think was my craft at the time, right? I more or less fell into marketing because I had to do it for my prior companies. I had to do it for my dad's company. I had to do it for companies that I was hired for. I had to do it as a contractor, but I never thought about it as a thing, right? It was always like an afterthought. Like, oh, well, I've got to sell stuff, so I've got to market.
Yep.
And then during that transformational period, like a thought came on and was like, I've been doing this for like 10 years. Why don't I just get paid to do this? Because one, it marked all of my keys off. It needs to truly help people, it needs to be able to build a foundation. I need to be able to make an impact, and I need to be able to change lives. All 4 of those were hit. So it's like, ding. So then I start this company October 1st of 17, left the other associations I was in. And we've just, I think at this point, we're 115 contractors on Access in. We're bringing almost everything in-house now. There's only a few things that we don't have in-house. We're selling products or services in 3 countries now, as high as 5 before GDRP got all crazy and before everything got really politicized. We've got a call center that we contract out in Australia. And we've got 6 new products launching, including the Thoughts to Profits challenge and product that launches here within the next 30 days.
Which is incredible.
Which is 5 days to take somebody from nothing to having a product, a funnel, the copy, the ad, the mindset, the blueprint, the wireframe, to be able to really optimize that opportunity and launch their own profitable program.
I will say this much, if it's okay, just to jump in here.
Yeah.
So I'm not plugging this because it's you. I'm not plugging it at all. It's just something I know about you and the way that you've actually designed the system, because you can usually tell how you think, or at least I like telling how people think. It's my job. I have to investigate people. It's like, I can read your soul. But anyway, the reason I bring that up is because, well, 2 things. One, tuxedo is in the background. I can hear the crap out of it. I just want to say hello, tuxedo.
Yep.
Hope you're well. I heard that. I was like, cute ass cat. And I can hear a cat a mile away. But the other thing I was going to say was, it's the idea of it's like what you can do in 5 days is absolutely incredible when you're given the right advantage. And this is the right advantage you guys are getting. So if you're listening to this, go sign up for the challenge. Trust me.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's true. And I'm going to give you guys something else on here to like help with the copy, with the framework, if you want, Bryce. So that way they can actually just have something as the thing they can take away.
Why would I ever say no to that? What?
It's weird. Like, I have a different idea about this. I'm like, fine, whatever, dude.
This is all about helping people go from thought to profit.
Sweet.
And start to build a legacy. So anything that you want to provide to help the people, we're all game for.
Okay, so I'm going to give you guys a couple of things, and we're going to do it in about 5 minutes. I'm going to speak very quickly. So wait, I think we're at a half-hour mark, just under 30 minutes in, I think, into the show. So what I'm going to say is, if you're listening to this or in the notes, we're about 30 minutes in. This is going to be like, listen to this again. So the first thing I'm going to give you is the squeeze page formula. Now, the squeeze page formula is something that I came up with 2014. Like, prior to that, no one really put testimonials on the landing pages for some reason. And one day I was like, let's see what happens if I put a testimonial on this opt-in page for this free report that I'm giving. Conversion rates went to 60% on cold traffic, and I've never gone below 40. I broke Webinar Jam at one point, by the way, with a 90.6% conversion rate.
Jesus.
Yeah, someone else just broke that record on another webinar that my buddy Andy Hassong was talking about. They did 91.3, and I was like, dude, can you send me the link? I look at the landing page, it follows my formula. So I messaged Andy back going, dude, this is the formula. So to give you guys an idea, here's the formula. It's very simple. It's so I want you to visually see this. So you've got a headline, so it's full length, full width row at the top, headline, full width row, subheadline. Then the section below, I want you to split into, so it's 50-50. It's a half row each. It's a half column each. And then you have a full row underneath it. So you have headline, which promises what you're doing. So I'll give you an example in a moment. You have a subheadline that has an embedded command. Then you have on the left-hand side of that split, you have your bullet points. On the right-hand side, you have your opt-in. And then underneath that, you put your testimonial. And that's all you do. So it's a one page. It's all above the fold. And that is your opt-in. Now, if you're thinking, how do I write a sales letter to sell some stuff? Well, I have a 17.5 version of this, but it'll take way too long for me to go through all the stuff. So I'm going to give you guys a very quick 8-point version, and then I'm going to give you guys an example of both, because something that Bryce mentioned is I like coming up with copy on the spot. And if you've ever seen any of my shows, you know I do this all the time. So here's one for you that we're going to work with. So Bryce, give me a real quick favor. Do me a real quick favor. Give me a niche or an industry. I don't care what it is. We'll make it up. And I'll go with the landing page and the sales letter.
All right. So we're going to use a real life example here.
Awesome.
And here's just so everybody listening and watching this understands, this is a current client of ours. She's an amazing woman. She's got an amazing product. And today or tomorrow, we actually launch the copy, the funnels, the social, all of the VSLs, the webinars that we've created. So I'm super curious to hear your structure because we've already created this. So now that may mean we go back and we're like, you know what? Adil had some good points. Let's split test this. We're pretty confident in what we're doing. So she's in the health nutrition coach space, but she specializes in her sub niche of raw food diets to help cleanse and cure the body from the inside out.
Okay, cool. I'm going to show you guys how to, like, we're going to make up the front end because I don't know. What's her free giveaway, by the way?
So she's got an ebook that's free. She's got a recipe book that's $40 through the funnel, 50 on Amazon. She's got a challenge coming up that I think we're going to do an SLO on. And she's got a digital product that's coming out that we're doing a OTO on.
Okay, cool. So what's the front end like? I know it's an ebook, but what does it teach? Like, give me an idea of what like the big benefit would be.
It's basically her recipe book, just in an ebook format, PDF download. So cool. It's her story, her walkthrough of the process, what she's experienced, what she's learned, her knowledge, her holistic coach's information, and then just recipes that you can go get the food for, make, go nuts on, enjoy.
To be fair, you can literally call that PDF "Go Nuts" on, or like "Go Nuts," because always fun.
But
exactly. I don't have my drum kit in here. It's in the other room. I would have done it otherwise. Okay, so the formula for the sales letter itself is the 8-point version I have. That's very basic. I haven't run you guys through it, but it basically goes headline, subheadline, opening paragraph, introduction to person, who they are, story of discovery and why they do what they do, introduction to product with a lot of detail. Then it's testimonials. Call to action, close, guarantee, bonuses. You don't put bonuses before the guarantee. That's just something that you don't ever want to do. I'll explain why later on. And then you have like the reclose and the sign off. It's more than 8 points, but whatever. It's basically like a rudimental version of my 17.5 system. So here's how I would do it. So by the way, never use the words learn in anything you're teaching unless you're talking about yourself. I learned this. Fine. You're going to learn this. No, it kills your sales. It's like a really dumb thing to do. I've split tested this to the nth degree, and I've spent 50 grand of my own money getting people in MRIs to read copy while I'm looking at their brains to see what words trigger them. So I can tell that with complete certainty. It's a word that just always, for some reason, turns people off whenever I say it, or whenever they see it or hear it. So let's get started with this. So the headline for something like the front end would be, discover how you can get raw food. What's called. If you've ever wanted to embrace a raw food diet, but always found recipes hard to come by, especially if they've been tested, then worry no more. Enter your name and email address to not only get my X-page PDF recipe, like X-page recipe guide, but also uncover my story and how it will impact you moving forward. Left-hand side column there. Inside this guide, you will uncover point 1, point 2. So like incredible recipes from around the world, the story of how I became who I am and how that impacts you today, why you want to embrace more of a raw food diet in your lifestyle, and why these recipes are designed to take no less than 30 minutes for you to apply, consume, and enjoy the food that you're about to have, and so much more. You always want to have 3 to 5 bullet points, with a third or the fifth being and so much more. Name and email address, testimonial, this person's amazing, great, whatever. Next page, because it's coming off an opt-in. If it's a direct sales page, you don't put a pre-headline about this, but if it's off an opt-in page, you can just say, hey, your guide will be there in the next 15 minutes. Check your spam folder, but first, ... and then you go into your headline. The headline here could be, discover how you can take those same recipes and elevate them to another level by simply, by not only having the recipes that you got, but an in-depth view of what they look like, how they're actually executed, and well over, if there's like 100, and we've given them terms like plus 90 more recipes or something like that in the headline. So, so headline, subheadline, and then opening paragraph from that would be, And then I'd go into a story. So I'm going to make this up because I don't know her story. It wasn't that long ago that I was suffering from a form of cancer that was very mild. Actually, my partner, I was suffering from some sort of depression or whatever it is, illness. And what ended up happening was that during my time, I tried absolutely everything there was, and nothing worked. In fact, I went vegan, I went vegetarian, I went carnivore, I went keto. Everything seemed to fail. Nothing seemed to actually make my body feel better, except whenever I was doing these diets, I would find that my body would heal only ever so slightly. So being the person that loves to test and find where her body is and what goes
Mhm.
on, I naturally gravitated towards breaking down what it was that worked. And what I found was that my body responded best whenever I ate anything that was raw food. This helped me go down the path of my holistic coach, really find out what was going on, and then start building, essentially just build like a short list of recipes for myself to have around the house. Eventually got to the point where one of my friends was coming over and asked for the recipe for how I made these raw strawberry cacao smoothies. They were completely dairy free and really, really good for them. I gave them the recipe. The next thing I know, their friends start sharing them. I start being asked about it. And then I start creating my blog. I put these recipes online and people start falling in love with them. In fact, you're probably, if you're seeing this right now, if you know my recipes, you know how great they are. And in a moment, I'm going to share with you how you can start applying these recipes into your life right away. But first, let me really introduce myself so you have more of an idea who I am. And then you go into the who they are, how they got to where they're at, they expand out on what it is, and then you kind of go, or you can say beforehand for the open loop, because that was a shitty open loop. A big open loop would be, in a moment, I'm going to share with you how how a raw food diet can help you heal your body, heal your mind, and most importantly, give you more energy, focus than anything else than I had before. But before we get into how to do that, let me introduce myself because it gives you a big enough open loop. You give the story of who they are, how they got there, what they do, and then you move into the whole idea of the product. And you kind of go into, remember how I told you that I put these online and everyone kind of kept following me? Well, the reason is because I kept looking at different recipes. Initially, I only started out to improve my health, like my overall general health.
Mhm.
And then after a while, people started asking me, hey, I feel burnt out. How do I improve my energy? I had other people asking me, hey, how do I improve my focus? How do I do this? How do I lose weight? How do I make sure that I reverse these damages? Oh, hey, you're a and even stuff like getting emails that say, hey, you're a raw food blogger or you're a raw food person. Can you help me create this recipe to do this? And after a while, I started to realize that I could create more recipes that tasted good, that were repeatedly asked for, that I decided to write them down and create a book. And now that's what I have for you today. I've taken all my greatest raw food recipes, I've put them together in this book. If it's a video as well as and I've shot a video for each of them showing you quickly how to make them, put them together. So in as little as the next 30 minutes, you can be having your first, well, you can have a smoothie and raw cacao nib, a strawberry and raw cacao nib smoothie that's completely dairy free and delicious for you. And then you go into, so here's what's inside this recipe
Mhm.
guide, and you go through what's inside, like chapters, have how it's broken down, blah blah blah. And then you go into, but don't just take my word for it, here's what everyone else has said. And then you got your testimonials, and that's when you go, so what's the investment? You might be sat there wondering, okay, how much is it
Mhm.
going to cost me? Well, the thing is, if you go on Amazon.com right now, you will pay $50 at a very minimum without shipping and handling.
Mhm.
But if you take action today on this page, you'll get a whole $10 off. So it'll be $40. Don't worry about the shipping and handling will be covered by us. And most importantly, we have some extra cool bonuses just for you, but we'll get to that in just a moment. So here's how you get started today. Click the order button where you'll be taken to your secure checkout page where, and by the way, this is a 4-letter invention by yours truly, because I haven't seen anyone else do it. It's enter your regular details and complete your investment. So it would sound like, so here's what you do next. Click the order button. You'll be taken to a secure checkout page where all you have to do is enter your regular details and complete your investment. Once you've done that, or complete your order, once you've done that, you'll be sent an email within 15 minutes with an invoice, and as well as a link for you to go get your bonuses, which we'll talk about in just a moment. As I love everything, as I have complete faith in what I do, I'm giving you a full, and you give them as long as you want, really. One of my programs has a 1-year money back guarantee,
Mhm.
and it's actually a slap in the face. So, like, my guarantee is like, hey, you have 1 whole year to apply this information. If by the end of like 12 months, if at the end of 365 days, you have not made back your own investment, I don't think I need your money. I think you need your money more than I do. Send me the back. And it's $1,000. So like easily going there. It's $40. You can say something like, if you try just 3 of the recipes and you are not 100% blown away and I can't help you, then send back the book and I will happily refund you the $40.
Mm-hmm.
Something along those lines. And we'll even part, and the key thing here is, and we'll even part as friends. That is a very powerful strategy of wording, because most people have a fear of asking for things back by saying we'll even part as friends. You completely remove the fear of what if they hate me? You know, it gets rid of that. And then you say, oh, and remember the bonuses I told you about? Well, these bonuses are only exclusive to this page. These bonuses include, and then you list out the bonuses, you put a real life value on it. You have to make it believable. None of this is $10,000 worth of value, but it's only worth like $20. Bullshit. Like I have a $20,000 bonus on my program, but that's because it's 2 sales letters. Like they're 2 sales letters that I've given you, so they're a real life 20 grand thing. But if it's like, here's my secret guide of everything, it's $10,000, and it's like, it's a $10 program. It's stupid value there. And then finally, what you do is you reclose by basically reminding them what they're getting, why they want it, what's going to happen, and then finally you move into the sale. You've got the close. You tell them what to do, and then you sign off. Now there is an element I did miss earlier, which I'm going to go back to. Is when you're explaining what the product does, go into depth about what those different areas are, how to get more focus. You might want to try my smoothie berry, my berry blaster recipe to get more productivity. You want to try the protein heavy shake or whatever it is. Whatever the food is, you have it there and you just kind of have a name for it without the recipe. And you take the recipes from the free PDF and you put them here. So that way they can use them anyway. But then you put 1 or 2 advanced ones at the start and at the end. So you sandwich the normal ones in the middle and the advanced ones at the very beginning and the very end. This creates a buying reaction anyway, because people want to get in. And that's essentially how you close out that sale. Very, very simply. Now, the upsells are completely different. The upsells just really come into a formula of, thank you for being here. Here's what I have for you. If you want it, here's how you buy it. Go get it. People put way too much time into upsells. I think one of my upsells was 90 seconds, and we did 87% upsell rate on that one 90-second video.
Nice.
It was shit. It was a really shit video. I think what I said was like, oh my God, you're right here. I can't believe you're actually on this order page. Yeah, if you want to get it. And then I acted so surprised that people would buy shit. Yeah,
it's actually funny that you bring that up, because having a sense of awe or sense of surprise in video works beautifully if it's placed in the right place. Yep. Being surprised people are paying you is not the right place for that.
It really wasn't. It's how I knew that I fucked up.
Yeah.
But still, 87% on the back end, I'm not going to be mad at it.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's not too bad.
I was going to say, it's kind of squeaked by that one.
So you can hear Tux meowing at the door, I'm sure. I think he's trying to get lunch. It's about lunchtime.
Bless him.
So yeah, he's super bougie. We're gonna go on a cat tangent again, guys. Just excellent. So you're prepared. So he's super bougie. And what I mean by bougie is he has a weighted no spill freshwater bowl. Okay. He has an auto feeder for dry food that he kind of just grazes with. And then he gets either late lunch or late breakfast or lunch, and then dinner as wet pate with gravy.
Ooh, damn. Okay. See, I don't do the whole wet food thing with my cats as much. They get more like raw. They get the niblets, and then they just get like, because I cook a lot, so they get all the cutoffs of meat and stuff. I'm like, here you go. Nice. That's your dinner.
So Tux is funny. He thinks he wants people food, but he doesn't. He comes up and he'll lick it once and then just leave it there. Like, yeah. They're funny creatures. So
they really are.
You've just shown everybody in 10 minutes how to take a thought you didn't even have before this call.
Yeah.
Into actionable sales pages that
and a lander
that I'm confident would convert if somebody took notes and just emulated exactly what you just walked through.
Yeah, for a different market as well. Like, don't be a dick and steal a raw food thing unless you're a raw food cool. But like, don't be a dick about it. I'll find out. By the way, if I find out that you guys like just ripped off a raw food thing, that would just really upset me. Not cool.
Yeah, don't do that, guys. Don't do that. And gals.
counts. Yeah, it goes
Let's.
to university.
It's
Heck,
it's
cats.
2020. Let's be equal here.
Everyone. Humans, if you identify as anything, there's a bipedal. Hey, you said it's 2020. I gotta go like there's like 80
That's
different. It's like
That's
take
true.
it this way. If you breathe, identify at any point of your life as a human, even at birth, don't be a dick.
There we go. I like it. So now we're gonna wrap up here in, I think we've got about 10 minutes left. But I want to go through and kind of just give everybody listening to this, because we've heard your story from a childhood. We've heard a couple examples of how either yourself or influential people in your life have taken a thought and made it profitable. You've given us a real life example.
Yep.
Let's wrap up with two things. One, where can people find you if they want to learn from you, hire you, get to know you, talk about maybe being on your show, just contact you and communicate? And after that, what are like 3 tips that you would give somebody who's either starting the challenge, wanting to start the challenge, has invested in the program, is doing one-on-one coaching, that wants to take a thought and make it profitable?
Okay, cool. So I'm going to walk you guys through that in just a minute. So the very first thing, I am the easiest human on the planet of Earth to find. There is no one else with my name. So you can literally Google Adil Amarsi and you will find me on everything. But go to adilamarsi.com. If you use the contact form on there, you have a bunch of options. So if it's a podcast request, you have that. If it's a consulting request, it's on there. If it's a copywriting project, it's all on there. Basically, if it's a product detail thing, it's all on there. So all you do is send me an email and we'll get talking. I'm fairly easily accessible, as most people are surprised to find. I'm like, hello, just a regular guy. Okay, let's move on to the thing that I really want to talk about. It's these 3 tips. So it's actually a 4th tip, and it's a pre-dating pre-tip. And here's what it is. Before you begin anything, make a list. Classic thing. Just make a list. Like, get a notepad and pen and be like, these are all my thoughts. I'm going to make a list of how they look and do that first. And then, of course, the very first thing that you do after you've made this list is, while you're creating this list, think about what thought you have as a marketplace. I want to work with, so let's just use raw food as another thing. It's raw food, but it's very specifically a sub niche. Raw food for this type of person that's going through this type of niche. That person has a very specific need and want and pain and pleasure point. They have all 4 of those. There's a greed gland that works for them. So for instance, what sells for someone with ulcerative colitis for raw food will not exactly sell the exact same for someone with cancer with raw food, if that was something that you're writing for. I mean, I'm using that as an extreme example, but you can use that for a different illness as well, that raw food helps. While you have these 2 areas, that's where step 2 comes in. Well, step 2 is get the idea. Step 3 is research the hell out of it. Like, research the crap out of that subject. Find out what people are saying. Find out who your competitors are. By the way, you don't want to go into a marketplace where there are no competitors. You always want to go into a marketplace where there are other competition. The reason is someone's already struggled to pave the way. Stop trying to reinvent the wheel. Just walk the same path and do it a little bit different. I mean, for instance, you don't want to build your own road. You want to be like, oh, that's how you build a road. Can I have your tar? Cool. I'm going to go build my own road over here. Fine. Rather than trying to come up with a formula of how to do it better. So the 3rd step here is, of course, research. Get everything you need. Make sure you got competition. You can look at what they did, what their pain points are, what their pleasure points are, how they sell, and you can emulate a lot of it and then go, what are they missing that I can fulfill on, that I can do differently for this marketplace, this tiny little sub niche? And that's your big thing. And the 4th thing that I tell you to do, if you haven't joined the challenge, join the challenge. If you're thinking about joining the challenge, join the challenge. If you're already in the challenge, hey, welcome to the challenge. Here's what you do before. Thing number 4 is, once you've got all the variables in place, meaning, hey, it's out there, whatever it is, don't build the product first. Do not build the product first. In fact, what I would suggest that you do is you write the copy first. And the reason I say start with a copy is because now you can run traffic to it. And trust me, it's so much easier. Just like have it as an have it as a pre-sell. Guys, I'm going to be doing this thing. Here's what it is. Here's what's inside. Do the whole sales letter that I told you. Run traffic to it. Get sales. But on the thank you page, like on the sales page and on the thank you page, just say you won't get access today. You'll get access at this date. We're giving you like a super cool discount, an extra bonus, whatever it is. I want to interview you for 30 minutes. It could be anything that you want to give your audience. put it out there, run some ads to it, get some traffic to it, and if people buy, now build a product. If people don't buy, you'll find out within 3 days. And if you know after 3 days or five after a week, guess what? You now don't have to waste any more time. Like you can go look for another idea and run the same process again. And eventually what will happen is you'll strike gold and be like, yeah, I just need to turn this up a bit. And there you go. And by the way, what I mean by how it converts, it doesn't really matter right now if you break even on the front, which I will get crucified for because breaking even is the first thing you want to do. But you don't want to do that right away. You just want to validate the idea, validate that it exists. People will put money towards this. And if they will, great, you got a business to go with.
Now, there's two things I want to touch on. Because one of the things that we're doing in the Thoughts to Profits challenge, and one of the things that our other challenge called Virtually Limitless is talking about, they both follow the same concept. We're helping people extract something from themselves they may not recognize as expertise. So this challenge isn't just for people that are like, oh, I'm an expert at X, I could help people with X. This was really built to help those people as well, yes, but the primary audience was everybody that was affected by COVID. The moms and dads that couldn't go to work anymore because work closed, but they're an expert or have insight or an experience with something that could benefit somebody else.
Yeah.
So that's the primary people that we're helping with this challenge. Our mom, dad, aunt, neighbor that don't really have any security right now because COVID came and wiped their savings out. Their jobs closed down. Maybe it's hard for them to get back to work, but they have knowledge. Yes. So we're helping them extract that to help change other people's lives with their knowledge and help them monetize that in the process. So we'll touch on that in a second. But the second thing that I wanted to touch on is you mentioned break even at the first just to prove concept. 100% correct. To save you from being crucified, though, I think it's important to note that there's a difference between not breaking even on a hook or an upfront offer or a liquidation offer and a proof of concept. They're two different things. To give a really good example of that, Adil's talking about proving a concept. Don't spend 4 days of your time, 5 days of your time, a year of your time, thousands of dollars building something if nobody wants that something, right? Yeah. But if you already have a something, and the second thing I'm talking about, doing like a book offer. Books 99% of the time have very little profit. They are not designed to be a moneymaker. They're designed to be an authority push, a public figure push. They're a perfect introductory offer. If you're trying to get somebody in your audience's attention, what makes you more notable? Oh, I'm on the internet all the time. Or, oh, I'm a published author. Here's my book.
Mm-hmm. Put a post-it note on that when you send it to someone as well. Like, hey, I thought you'd really like chapter 3 where I talk about this thing. Mm-hmm. That opens doors. I've actually used that to open the door for a really hard to find copywriting client that I wanted to work with. Just sent him an email. Mm-hmm. I didn't have a book at the time. I'm writing my book right now, but I sent him Robert Greene's the Laws of Human Nature with a post-note. I think you need to read this in its entirety. Get back to me in a month. Look forward to hearing from you. Adil. P.S. This is my phone number and email address. And just sent it to him. I waited. Mm-hmm. I didn't even wait 30 days. I got a phone call 3 hours later going, holy crap, dude, this is on my list. And I can't believe you got it for me. Like immediately, it was like, I've been meaning to read this and no one's got it for me. So I got it. Cool, superb, great. And then closed him as a client, which is great. Do you mind if I go back for a second? Because I want to clarify something with what you said about where people are with their knowledge.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So everything I said about those 4 points essentially apply universally. They apply no matter what level you're starting out at. If you have knowledge and you can teach something, I'll give you an example. If you can play piano, you can actually do something with it. Mm-hmm. That knowledge is there. This is an idea I gave to a friend a while ago. She worked in nursery before COVID. COVID happened. Of course, the nurseries went into lockdown and shut down in the UK. I just a lot of the parents were like, dude, I still need someone to look after my kid because she worked specifically with a very, it was a Montessori school. So it was very, very high end. I just told go to the, like, you see these people on the last day of school before they go home. Just say, hey, just so you know, I'm actually a trained pianist, and a music teacher. Do you want me to work with some of the kids here? And I'll basically split it up. So like, I'll only work in a bubble with your kid. Like, I'll teach them from distance. So we'll do a Zoom call, they'll get on the piano and they can play. And I'll show them what to do. Or if, because they're kids, they really can get COVID at the time, or so we believed. What we just did was, instead I said, well, why don't you get them to come over to your place and play on your piano, and, you know,
Mm-hmm.
have the parent there, or have the parents zoom in so they can see what's going on. And like, yeah, I don't know how much to charge, like $30. I was like, this is a Montessori school. They spend like 30 grand a year on just their like
Mm-hmm.
3-year-old's education. You can charge a little bit more. We bumped the price up to $100 to start with, and then now it's like $300 or $400 a child for like a month just to work with them. She rebuilt her entire business like as a music teacher in like 30 days. She was like, I'm making more money as a music teacher than I did as a regular teacher. She loves the job, so that's why. But that's an idea of how you can even do this.
Well, and that's, I mean, there's so many of them. We've had clients that were contractors that on the East Coast, they got hit hard. They couldn't go on properties, go in properties. They couldn't meet with people. The regular, like New York was completely shut down.
Yep.
So a lot of contractors were like, well, what do we do? One of the things that we helped them discover was you're still an expert in design, structure, interior, and creation. Do a virtual sale. You don't have to be there to do it. If somebody wants a kitchen remodel and you can't get supplies and the state won't let you go actually do the build, do a 50% down, deliver an entire digital prospectus of what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, the blueprints, the design, some 3D functions of it. They'll buy that all day long, because then they're one step closer to just being able to hand that to you or somebody else right when the state opens and their kitchen's done.
Exactly. And because it's 50% up front, they're not worrying about how they're going to basically afford this thing. Like, oh, it's only half off. Cool. I'll pay him half for this blueprint.
Mm-hmm.
There's also the other people out there that get super, like my friend Lauren, her husband, Ben.
Mm-hmm.
Dude is a handyman. He's basically rebuilt their entire house over the last 10 years. Like every year he tears out a new room and redoes it. This year's COVID happened. That he wanted to redo the kitchen. Similar to you, I don't think he went this way, but he hired like a local architect to basically draw out the plans of the stuff that he needed for this kitchen he wanted. He took the blueprints and got all the material and built it himself. Still a possibility. It's 50% off, and you guys are killing that, so it's fine. And there's a myriad of ways, like PTs, personal trainers. I know are starting to do like group sessions on Zoom.
Well, let's think about that. You've got products specifically designed now. They're hitting the market for virtual trainings. PTs aren't just now in person. I mean, what was the big controversy with that bike? Peloton. Peloton and their competitors have both released virtual only PT style one-on-one training systems that you can buy.
Yeah, and they've had them for a while.
Yeah,
and it's incredible.
So what I want everybody here listening and watching today is, and like Adil's mentioned, it doesn't matter what you did or what you do or what you've done. You got some gold up here. We just got to mine it out and help others with it.
Exactly.
Are you taking kitty photos?
I am. I want to show them to you because hold on. I'm just gonna like zoom that into there.
Oh,
you got my two little tiger babies just chilling out. I'll send that to you on Facebook later on, but
send it to me.
Dude, I want a photo of Tuxedo.
I'm looking for one right now. I'll go take a live one for you, but
he'll just look at you like, where have you been, human?
Yeah. We've got
couple of seconds left.
We've got so many photos on here. We did like a little adventure style weekend, I guess. How do I make this do the thing that I want it to do? It's not.
What do you want it to do? Do the thingy thing. By the way, have you? Oh, a little tuxedo. Oh God, he does look like he's wearing a tuxedo,
right? Doesn't he? Yeah, he's so sassy.
I love sassy cats. My girl Luna, the little of the two ones, believe it or not, she's 6 years old, but she looks like a kitten. It's adorable. Like she has a kitten face. She rules the roost. Like she is straight up the assassin of the house. She's like,
That
you know
sounds
what?
right.
Yeah, I'm queen bitch here. And lately she's become my favorite. Like I've become her favorite recently. Like she'll sleep next to me now.
Yep.
She'll wake up. She sits in my recliner chair when I'm reading. It's amazing. But we all know that my boy's my favorite. He's always gonna be my favorite. I've had him longer.
Yeah.
He's louder.
Okay. So before we get lost in talks about the cats,
Yes.
because remember, not everybody listening is a cat person. Just so you're clear, if you're a dog person, I also love the puppers.
Same here. If I could have one here, I would. You'd see a little fucking dog next between them.
So my COO is splits a house with me. He's my roommate, and he's got a lab, a little black lab, and I think it's a lab healer mix, if I'm correct. I may be wrong, Josh. If you're listening, don't crucify me if I got that wrong. But his name's Diesel, and he's adorable. So
Diesel, we couldn't be.
So one of the things that like I call him, Josh just call him, is Wiggle Butt, because he's got a little tiny nub for a tail. So like his whole ass shakes when he goes to shake his tail. It's just his whole butt. It's just like nee, 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 nee. And it's the cutest freaking thing. So
oh man, that sounds amazing. Like, trust me, I can get lost in talking about pets all day long. I fucking love dogs and cats. It's a huge nerd for them.
Okay, so thoughts to profits. For those of you who are interested, it's www.profits.com. It is officially starting its pre-release today, meaning I think we have our first live today, if I remember correctly. Group links will be dropped on my Facebook. So make sure that you go find me. They'll be posted on all socials so that you can join the private group. Those of you who maybe want to learn a little bit more about Adil, make sure that you go to adilamarcy.com. Take a look at what he's got. If you haven't noticed by now, he is a master at his craft, and he's here to help. Any questions that you may have about anything that the Inbound Secret is doing or our next show guests, feel free to reach me. Go to the Inbound Secret on Facebook or theinboundsecret.com. Adil, thank you so much for coming on today. It has been a pleasure as always. And then leave the people with some gold, if you don't mind.
Ooh, one last thing. What should I leave you with? Well, Bryce, it's been a pleasure being here. I will say that much. Guys, please go join the challenge. Check me out. All the fun stuff. Now, let's leave you with something absolutely brilliant. And it is known as my content matrix. It's three simple steps. So if you're out there thinking, how do I promote myself organically? How do I know what to talk about? Here's the simplest way. You have a story, and your story is unique. There is a reason that you became a PT. There is a reason that you became a physiotherapist. There is a reason that you did whatever it is that you do today. There was an unconscious reason. Maybe it was a love for it. Maybe it was something else. Think about that. Then I want you to sit down and go and write, again, piece of paper. Step one, all I want you to write is, what was the big defeat that made me be good at my thing I love to do? So for me, if it's like it was like Thai boxing was a thing I absolutely enjoyed as a kid. The thing that made me go do Thai boxing was I got my ass handed to me really badly by a kid older than me, and my mom got scared, so she decided to put me in kickboxing classes, and then I took on Thai boxing. So that's like why do you do what you do? Like, what was the thing? Step number 2 is, when did you know there was a point of no return that you're just like, you know what, this is great. I'm totally into this. This is what I'm gonna do. Like, how did you know? For me, again, everyone has it. Like working out is painful at the very beginning. It's one of the worst things you can do. It hurts like hell. But 90 days later, you're happy with the results. Things look brilliant, and working out doesn't feel like working out anymore. It just feels like fun. So that's essentially it. When did that point of fun come along? Like, what was it that basically made it fun for you? What was that point you go, I can't go back to that life anymore? And then third, very simple step to do is, I want you to take that same sheet of paper. I want you to draw a horizontal line and 2 small vertical lines on either side. On the left-hand side, I want you to write what your defeat was. On the right-hand side, I want you to use what your victory was. The point of no return, I've got this, or yeah, enough of this. And then in between that, I want you to mark off all the milestones that went from that key point on the left to the point on the right. So for instance, if you're using martial arts, it's like, got my ass handed to me as a 12-year-old, 13-year-old. Okay, cool. What was the next step? Tried karate, hated karate. Next thing, tried kickboxing, loved it. What was the next thing? I had to make sure I showed up once a week and get my workouts in. What was the next thing? I had to make sure that I could skip because I couldn't jump rope, so I had to learn how to jump rope. Okay, what was the next thing? I had to learn how to throw punches and kicks. Great. What was the next thing? I fell in love with Thai boxing. Great. What was the next thing? And that was like, where was that point of no return? It's like, oh, it's 3 weeks after trying Thai boxing on a Sunday when I sparred and realized I don't have to hit you in the head. I can kick you in the legs, and that's fine for me. And that was the point of no return. So it's a very odd place to leave that off, but I've documented all those steps. Now here's where it gets to an infinite matrix. You take each one of those milestones and you do the same thing, the defeat, victory, but the victory is this milestone. And you break down how you got there. And then all you do is take each one of those points and you write them out. You write them out for people to follow. Like something as simple as, you know what, when I first started out, I absolutely hated doing push-ups. Push-ups, hated my life, and I hated them so much with a passion, couldn't do them. And then I figured out this one little way of doing them, and I stuck to it. Essentially, I started out on my knees, as you would, then against the wall, and then I started doing full push-ups, and then finally, after like 3 weeks, my arm stopped hurting so much, and my push-ups became incredible. I was doing like one-arm push-ups within a month. It was brilliant. And that's the end point. I encapsulated the whole story in like one story, but you can break that up to several parts and release it throughout the day. And that's kind of like that's how you do it. That's how you basically create an infinite content matrix, is by figuring out what your defeat is, what your victory and point of no return was, and then telling the world about it.
Awesome. Leaving everybody with gold. Once again, Adil, thank you for being on.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure as always. Everybody listening, we will see you on the next episode of The Inbound Secret.
Take care, guys.
This is the Inbound Secret.
My name is Bryce, and I'm your host for The Inbound Secret, where we're talking with top performers and health experts and sales badasses alike about their strategies to optimize their well-being and performance. Once again, this is The Inbound Secret, and let's get rocking and rolling.
This is the Inbound. This is the Inbound.